in this lifetime, you're going to go through tragic endings of the heart. And it hit me, this massive kind of deja vu-like moment, because it was exactly accurate. There is an algorithm to these cards. It's based on math. They show us how our reality is structured, how it functions, and they show us our role to play, our life purpose, to awaken our awareness of who we are and why we're here. Metatron's cube, the Fibonacci golden spiral. You can trace them all the way back to ancient Sumeria, where the Sumerians talk about tablets of destiny that were gifted to them by their gods. These tablets were gifted by an advanced race of extraterrestrial beings. Thoth may himself be a living, breathing being, similar to Yeshua or Jesus, and he may also be a representation of an extraterrestrial being who gave this information, who delivered what would have been the Book of Thoth, or this was also known as the Book of Life. And through different cultures and societies, these cards had different names. Tablets of Destiny, Book of Thoth, Book of Life, source cards.
Alexander and Viki, very excited to have this conversation with you. All right, so what I'd love to start with is, I know you guys talk about the source cards. What are the source cards? How did you even get into that? What's it all about?
Okay, we're jumping right in. Let's go. So it started because of a long spiritual journey that I was on, starting at age 17, through many different twists and turns, through being born again Christian, going to Roman Catholic seminary, going to India, becoming a Swami there, working with plant medicines, apprenticing with shamans, studying every esoteric system I could find, learning how to do palm reading, gene keys, human design, Vedic astrology, Mayan astrology, sidereal astrology, all of it. Meanwhile, I also had studied philosophy at Harvard. I looked for answers in the minds of the great thinkers and great philosophers, and I'd worked on Wall Street, and I was director of marketing at a software company. So I had a whole corporate path concurrent with my spiritual quest. And then, much to my surprise, right when I was going through a very emotionally painful divorce, I went to a party in Brooklyn, and somebody who I knew from Burning Man, I used to go to Burning Man, and I walk in and he's like, "Hey, what's your birthday?" I'm like, August 30th. Why? And he says, "Oh, that means your birth card is the 9 of Hearts. And that means in this lifetime, you're going to go through tragic endings of the heart, and you're going to have to learn how to let go, forgive, and move on." And it hit me, this massive kind of deja vu-like moment, because it was exactly accurate. And I was going through a traumatic, emotionally traumatic and upsetting divorce right in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
So it hit me like a ton of bricks. But I was still very skeptical about the real meaning of the playing cards. I couldn't wrap my Harvard brain around how the answers to the meaning of life could be found in a deck of playing cards. So I studied a bit, and there was a couple of books written about it. The way it was written, though, that I found, the way I first learned it, is more like a fortune-telling type style, where you're going to predict what's coming next year. Are you going to have good money cards next year? Are you going to have romance in the cards for you next year? Like the way gypsies used to do it, fortune-telling style. But now with mathematical algorithms and computer software, because it is a predictive approach. How do I say it? There is an algorithm to these cards. It's based on math. It's not like tarot. You're not divining the cards. You're not shuffling and pulling. There is a predictable algorithm that shuffles and distributes the 52 cards every year. So you have a life path starting with age 0, and then every year you have new cards. So you could do fortune telling with it if you wanted to. Lay out the cards and the house of cards, and then read the cards and see what's coming. But perhaps because of my spiritual quest or my own personal interest, I was not interested in fortune telling. I was much more interested in who am I and why am I here and what is this all about? And what these cards reveal, I believe, is the programming code of our space-time matrix. They show us how our reality is structured, how it functions, and they show us our role to play, our life purpose, how we contribute to the collective whole. And they're fundamentally a tool for awakening, to awaken our awareness of who we are and why we're here, so that we can live more in the present moment, not trying to predict the future, but be fully present in this moment, in the energy frequencies that are present right now. So that's a quick overview of the whole shebang that we call the source cards. And they were known by many names in history, these cards, the Book of Life, Book of Thoth. We can get into all that as well. We refer to them as the source cards because they show the source code of reality.
Oh, wow. That's really intriguing. I want to dial it back a little bit because what was it that led you on that spiritual journey at the age of 17? We don't often see that happening.
So I was giving you the Cliff Notes version. We can dial in, go deep. I grew up Roman Catholic, and it didn't mean a whole heck of a lot of beans to me. It just was kind of dreary and boring to have to be forced to go to church. And I went to Catholic school, and the fear of hell was put in me. But then when I was 17, my Catholic high school offered a retreat for seniors. And this is in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And the retreat center was right on the beach. So it was 3 days to get out of school and hang out with my friends at the beach. Like, yeah, sign me up. On the last night of the retreat, a priest came to talk to us about walls around our hearts, walls that block out God's love. It was a very powerful talk. Everyone was in tears. Even the tough football players everyone was in tears. I wanted to go speak with him afterwards. It was the first time I'd ever actually wanted to talk to a priest. He was sitting in a cafeteria, empty cafeteria, linoleum floor, dim fluorescent lights, on a folding chair, and there was a folding chair opposite him so that someone could come and talk to him in what would be called face-to-face confession in the Catholic tradition.
Oh,
So I did. I ventured out kind of sheepishly and went out to talk to him. I don't remember what I said at this point, but when I was done, he stood up to pray for me, and he put his fingers on my forehead like this. And the moment that he did, something went whoosh right through my body, like
wow.
water, like electricity, all at once, in a split-second flash, unmistakably from head to toe. And I felt washed clean instantly. And in that moment, I also realized there's something real behind all the dogma, all the rigmarole. There's something real there. And I didn't know it in that moment, but that's what launched me on my quest to figure out, what is this all about? What is this energy that touched me? What is the meaning of God, the meaning of life? What is all this? That was the seminal moment that sparked the whole quest.
Wow. And Vicky, I'm really intrigued to know, how did you guys get introduced? Like, how did you become a part of this journey with Alexander?
We met at a cafe. I was sitting in a window in a stool looking out the window, and he came, up next to me. It was pouring rain, and just started chatting with me and asked me my date of birth. So the ancient system is based on the regular deck of playing cards. We have a life path of cards that all show a different aspect of who we are, and it's based on the date of birth. And so he proceeded to tell me all about myself in this meeting in about 20 minutes, the good and the bad, right? It's like telling me things that are like really confronting. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, wow, okay, you know a lot about me,
Yeah.
And then that was it. We had our first date after that. We're now married. We've been together for 12 years. And I have found this tool to be profoundly accurate. I proceeded to look up everybody in my life, their cards to play, everybody, like all my friends, family, parents, past lovers, and that really sealed the deal for me because, just the accuracy of it, and it explained a lot of my relationships, dynamics of relationships, how people show up differently from how I am, like, oh, no wonder they're playing that card versus a different card kind of thing. And I had been on a spiritual journey myself, a good 20 years of, learning about myself. I had a medical issue. I didn't get my period for 6 years. And I actually, I ended up seeing a healer. Doctors couldn't figure out what was going on with me. I went to a healer, and it was between like 1 and 3 days that I got my period. So
Yeah.
that just catapulted me. I
Wow.
was like, whoa, what is all this healing, energy, God, source, just learning about it, wanting to learn as much as I could. I ended up going to the Barbara Brennan School of Healing as a result of that. And I'm now a healer myself. And, when I met Alexander and he told me this, about this template and all about myself in 20 minutes, I thought, wow, I just spent 20 years working on myself and growing and evolving. And you just told me in 20 minutes all the things I learned in those 20 years, kind of thing, similar.
Wow.
So yeah, it's quite profound. And now we work together, shouting from the rooftops about this system, because we really believe passionately that, for people to know their cards to play and to play them well is a game changer in this life, to live a happy, fulfilling life. So.
Oh, that's beautiful. What kind of healing were you studying prior to this?
So energy healing, I did lots of weekend workshops. I studied many, many classes in theta healing. And then I did go to do the 4-year program, Barbara Brennan School of Healing. It's very much, now I feel like I have a lot of tools in my toolbox, different kinds of ways to do healing, like restructuring an energy body and things like that, or clearing beliefs, helping people to clear, old patterns and belief systems and things like that. But I really just, I go to God. I ask God, creator, source, to support me in co-creating a healing. And then the energy moves through me. And then I'm facilitating, like just following the guidance that's specific for that person.
Beautiful.
So yeah, and then I'll like see energy moving, and I'll help the person to really make deep contact with themselves, and accepting all of themselves, and really like honoring themselves, their feelings, their thoughts, their experiences, their past, to really bring like a wholeness, because we often deny parts of ourselves. We deny our feelings. We push our feelings down. We, have negative thoughts. We have, like all these things. So it's really like an acceptance, and honoring of oneself. So putting that all together in healing sessions with people.
That's beautiful. Like, what was prior to your spiritual journey and your healing journey? Did you have any prior religious or spiritual affiliations or beliefs that in any way impacted your own experience as Alexander's did?
Yes. So I went to Catholic school, and had to go to church every morning before class. And like most mornings, people would have to bring me outside because I get really dizzy and nauseous. So, something didn't feel quite right for me. Even as a kid, I was so nervous going to church. And yes, they did talk a lot about, going to hell and things like that. And I was so fearful as a kid, just super fearful.
Yeah.
And so, that, I always like felt that there's something, but I just didn't really understand it. And so that, and I was super intuitive as a kid too. Like I would meet someone, and I'd be with my mom, and then I'd start like saying all these things about the person. I think that this and that, and then she'd be like, "What?" And then later find out like that I knew things about them, So it was like all these things together. Like there's something more, And so, yeah, I did go on a search for myself, for who am I, why am I here, and also just what is God, what does that mean, what is spirituality, what is God in relationship to me, and things like that. So it was a big exploration for me as well.
Wow. Alex, what made you, because you studied like a bunch of things leading up to this, why did you settle on the cards? What was it about the cards that made you settle on that?
That's a fantastic question. Thank you for asking that. I did study everything I could get my hands on, every esoteric system I could find. And again, I didn't even know what I was looking for, but somehow throughout my entire 25-year quest, let's call it, starting at age 17, I knew that I would know it when I found it. And as I mentioned, I was skeptical about the simplicity of the cards. How could it be that these simple 52 patterns that I grew up playing Go Fish and Gin Rummy with, how could this be the answer? What I did is, I was single at the time. I was going through the divorce, as I mentioned, and closed out the divorce. I was living in New York City. I'm in Brooklyn now, but I was in Manhattan at the time. I was going out to bars and hanging out with friends and being single, and I would kind of I would just actually tap strangers on the shoulder at a bar and say, "Hey, can I just ask you something? What's your birthday?" And most of the time they would be like, they'd tell me, like, they didn't care. And I figured, and this was my experiment, that New Yorkers are brutally honest. If it was BS, they would tell me. So I wanted to talk to strangers, not my friends or family who might give me like a encouragement and not really necessarily genuinely mean it. They just want to encourage me. I wanted to know if real strangers would find this system accurate or not. So that's what I did. That was my experiment. And I would tap people and be like, "Okay, what's your birthday?" And I might look up their card, like, "Oh, you're born to play 4 clubs, and it means this, this, and this about you." They'd be like, "Oh my God. Hey, Mike, you got to get over here." Excuse me. "See what this guy's doing with playing cards." I hurt my throat shouting.
Oh, man.
But so it
So
was
funny.
inevitably, it would land well, and they get excited and they tell their friends. And then the next thing I know, I'd be doing readings for everyone at the bar and the bartender. And so I'm like, "Oh, this is accurate." But still, why I settled on it, because I was at the time studying Gene Keys and human design. And I thought, oh, maybe I'll triangulate and I'll do all 3 and I'll start a professional practice to read all 3. I settled on the cards because I like their simplicity and they're a visual symbolic pattern. They tell you what they mean in the visual pattern. And that visual simplicity really appeals to me. And the fact that it can be so simple in and of itself is, in a way, is proof of its potency and its accuracy. Like, the simplest things are the most profound. I think it was Leonardo da Vinci said that, oh gosh, I'm going to butcher this quote. I can't think of it. It's like I can't think of the quote. There's an extraordinary truth in simplicity, or something like that. That simplicity in and of itself is, oh, this is what he said. He said, "The ultimate sophistication is simplicity."
Nice.
I really like that the ultimate sophistication is simplicity.
Yeah.
So it's the most simple, elegant visual tool that I found in all of my studies and all of my search. It's not to say that astrology is inaccurate and amazing, or these other systems, which I still reference and I still utilize. But I settled on this because I thought that this was somehow the most potent and the most profound. And then through ongoing study, I found out why. I didn't know it in that moment, which we can get into if you want. But I settled on it because of its visual simplicity.
It makes sense. Viki's holding up a card right now. So
yeah, I just, as an example, you just talked about the 4 clubs, as an example. So we took the numbers off the card so you can really see the pip pattern. So this is the 4 of clubs. The clubs are pips. So each club is called a pip. And then this is the pip pattern of the 4. So the 4 is about structure, organization, and foundation. And you can see that it's a box. Here it is: structure, organization, foundation. The clubs represent the mind, knowledge. So bringing organization and the foundation of wisdom, of knowledge.
Yeah.
On the high side, you can really be boxed into thoughts if you're playing this card. And it's important for the person to expand
I
and
see.
be open in that space, right? So the pip pattern shows you how to play it well. Here's the visual, right? It's a visual symbol, and it has energy and healing to it, just the symbol itself, and it tells you how to play the card well.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Can you
And
take me
also not
through?
well.
Right, which we're very good at doing.
Yes. Yes, we are.
Kertia, are you curious? Do you want to know your cards?
Yeah, let's get into it. Let's do it.
What's your birthday?
September
Just a month and the
3rd.
day. September 3rd. We're doing a quick lookup.
Diamond, I think.
Yes.
September 3rd. Yes.
Oh, look at that.
Woo! Boom.
You've got very powerful cards to play.
Okay.
Viki's pulling them out now.
I'm going to pull them out.
Ooh.
Don't have to look too
Juicy.
far for that one. So as I said, you have a life path of cards. Each card shows a different aspect of who you are. There's 13 plus cards in your life path. And there's cards that show your gifts, your talents, your challenges, your shadow, all kinds of things like that. So we start with the birth card. And that's what you're here to shine your light, how you radiate your light in the world.
Mm-hmm.
The 8 is the infinity symbol, which you can see in the empty space in the pip pattern. Infinite.
Oh.
Infinite energy. Diamonds represent what you value most in your life. It could be anything that truly is meaningful for you. It also represents anything you can perceive with your 5 senses. So anything of the physical reality. So infinite power in this card, infinite energy in this card. It could be related to, again, anything that you truly value, your physical body, your health, finances, money, infinite, again, energy, healing. It's a card of healing, the 8. And infinite healing power. You know, on the low side, you can get tied up in knots. So if you're not in flow, you can really get tied up in knots in your body, like physically tied up in knots, tension in your body. Yeah. The 8 of diamonds can also be a bully, like a bull in a china shop, like being so forceful that, it's just can be aggressive and forceful. So it's important to be allowing and graceful in this energy.
Wow. Wow.
How does that resonate?
Definitely resonates. Oh my goodness. Yeah. I feel like with me, I think the thing that people has checked me on the most is my tone. Like it comes off as like very sometimes like not a physical bully, but like my tone and the way that I express things is very strong at times. So I've learned how to like, say the same thing in a, they say it's not what you say, it's how you say it. So I've learned how to redress, the way that I put things sometimes. So like, I've had people tell me that I come off a bit strong when I speak.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're going to show you why in a moment, because this is your birth card, the first of the 13 plus in your life path. The next one is the King of Spades, and that's your personality. And I cover up the 8 of diamonds on purpose because this is how you will show up. Notice that it's a masculine energy and he's got a sword.
Yeah.
Just a few moments ago, you went like this. Sometimes I go like this, and like you were dropping your hammer, cutting your sword, just visually, energetically showing that. And that can be that you come across and you are fierce and you have a powerful sword. Yeah. It's the King of Consciousness. Spades is an acorn, and the acorn is a symbol of the pineal gland. Vision, faith, imagination, consciousness.
Yeah.
And the king is a masculine archetype of authority. So even though you're a petite woman, you may have a very big, masculine, intimidating persona. and you may inadvertently intimidate people,
So cute.
and you just come in and drop the hammer on them.
That is so true. That is so weird. I don't do it on purpose. I promise. Yes,
Right.
people.
No, yeah,
Yeah, people have told me that I speak in a very authoritative tone, and even though I don't intend to, but I just
Mhm.
express myself very strongly
Mm.
at times. And it's funny when people actually see me, their first impression, I always say, I don't understand why people think that I'm like this intimidating person, or I'm not like approachable. But then once they come closer and get to know me, they're like, oh my gosh, you're nothing like I thought you were. You're actually really cool, really funny, really nice and cuddly. So, but on the outside, before people really get to know me personally, yeah, that's pretty much what they see, and it's really weird.
we're we're all aware of each other's energy, even if we don't know the cards.
Yeah.
And so people who first encounter you will encounter this stoic, strong, fierce facade of a king energy, regal, authoritative, powerful, and they'll just feel that. They'll notice that energy because these are archetypes that we're playing out. You are not your cards. I'm not my cards. None of us are our cards. We're all here to play our cards. And
Yeah.
for lack of a better word, you're a soul. You're a soul playing a human game. These are patterns, these are energy frequencies. The cards just symbolize energy frequencies. So there's an energy frequency that you show up with whenever you show up,
Yeah.
and people feel it,
That's hilarious. Wow, that's crazy.
right?
Wow.
It's so simple and so accurate. And as I mentioned, after I did test after test after test, like, wow, this is really interestingly accurate, like we just did for you in 5 minutes. And the person's like, wow, that's really surprisingly accurate.
Yeah.
And I've had that experience over and over and over and over and over again, that it's just surprisingly accurate for people. And again, I still can't quite grasp logically, rationally how it could be, but it is. It just is. I've done tens of thousands of readings now for people, and it's always accurate for them. Knock on wood, it's always accurate.
Yeah. Well, that was pretty accurate for me. That was like really accurate. And like it's true, like it's all about the energy that you came here to play with, because like even if I'm like very nice and cuddly and all those things, that is the energy that people get before they get to know me. That is what they're presented with for whatever reason. So like I totally see that because I've gotten that a lot, and I've worked a lot on like redressing the way that I say things so that it doesn't come off as strongly, because it usually the things that I say, they came off stronger than I mean them to,
Sure.
right? And like
You you speak with power,
That's
and you speak with
yeah.
authority. So I would suggest to you, we'll move into the next stage of the awareness and the appreciation of your cards to play, is to consciously choose to play them well,
Mm,
which is different than trying to not sound powerful or not sound authoritative. Then you're just holding yourself back. You want to
mm.
be conscious of your power and your authority so that you can be conscious of how you express your power and your authority.
I love that. Yeah. I love the way that you just reframe that. That's definitely true. Awesome. So, like I wanted to highlight though, because what most of us are used to when we talk about like spirituality, especially when it comes to readings, we're used to tarot cards. And
Hmm.
I want you to kind of tell us the difference, because I don't want people to like to mistake this as this is like another type of like reading tarot or anything like that. I want you to like give us a distinction of using these cards and using tarot cards.
Mm. Well, this is based on math. It's a mathematical system, and you actually have cards to play based on your date of birth. You even have cards to play each day and every year. And every 52 day period, you have like a card in play that's just for you based on your date of birth.
Mhm.
Whereas tarot, it's a form of divination, and you're choosing the cards and asking for guidance based on, divination. So that's one very big difference, is that people can use these for divination, and they do,
Yeah.
as Alexander talked about before, with making predictions, and using it as guidance, like choosing a card for the day to have guidance.
Yeah.
But they
No, go, no, go ahead.
it is based on math. These are your cards to play for your, the 13 cards are for your whole life. You're learning them if you choose to. You can also play them by default if you don't know about them, but if you choose to learn them, then you can actively, purposefully, consciously play them well.
Mm.
So that's one obvious difference, is
Mhm.
they are based on math. So it's kind of like the difference between a science and an art. And I've had many powerful, wonderful tarot readings over the years. So that's another way to create a kind of a simple distinction, is like the difference between science and art. Because the cards are based on a mathematical algorithm, you can test them. And like similar to what we did with you, we looked up your birthday and we did a test reading, and it's accurate. And you
Yeah.
can do that over and over and over again, and you can test it. So in that sense, it's scientific. The deeper difference between the two, because it is kind of a hot button topic, actually, and I have tarot enthusiasts who get genuinely upset, like genuinely
Really?
upset, like kind of like Republican Democrat upset.
Really?
Oh yeah, like kind of like Muslim Jew upset. They get really upset. I just had someone on Twitter's X block me because I was talking about how the original deck actually precedes Twitter and precedes Twitter. Precedes
I hope
Tarot.
so.
Precedes Tarot. And he got really upset and like kind of like started flaming me afterward, like with these multiple posts. He got really upset. And I was just
Wow.
offering like, hey, did you know that actually the quote unquote regular playing cards is the most ancient tool that we know of? And the reason we know that it is, and I was attempting to explain this, but didn't go well. Now we have more of a long form conversation. It's a better, scenario to explain this.
Yeah.
Every single pip pattern, and again, the pips are the suit symbols, like the hearts, clubs, diamonds, spades. Every single pip pattern, the 8, the 4, the 10, the 9, all of them all come out of the tree of life, out of the Sephiro. If you know the Kabbalistic tree of life, the way that the Sephiro are arranged, every single one of the pip patterns comes out of that tree of life pattern.
Mm.
When that tree is planted in the garden, when you get the 13th Sephiro, as the original story in Genesis tells us, the tree is planted in the center of the garden because the Kabbalistic tree is still inside the seed. So we're
Yeah.
going very deep right now, but I want to give you this answer. It's more than just a soundbite answer. Once you plant the tree in the garden, so to speak, and you get those 13 Sephiro, then from there you can see that all the pip patterns emerge out of that tree of life. The tree of life, obviously enough, comes out of the flower of life. The flower of life is the oldest known symbol, spiritual symbol we have. It's found cross-culturally all over the world, China, in India, Egypt, and in Ireland as well, among other places. Cross-culturally, in ancient inscriptions carved in stone, we can find the flower of life.
Yeah.
These pip patterns all come out of the tree of life, which comes out of the flower of life. That's where the information comes from. And because we know the flower of life is so ancient, we know this information is ancient.
Yeah.
The tarot, in contrast, some people want to say it goes back to ancient Egypt. I went to Egypt, I visited all those temples, and I looked. I was curious. I went and looked for tarot imagery on the walls of those Egyptian temples. I could not find any. And I was there with a documentary filmmaker who was also looking in the walls. He and I could not find any inscriptions that bore any resemblance to tarot cards.
Mm-hmm.
So people do say that tarot comes from ancient Egypt. If that's true, I didn't find it. But even if it is true, these cards have the playing cards, quote unquote, have a completely separate origin story and come all the way out of the flower of life. So they must be older, just by definition, because the flower of life is older than anything that the tarot cards may have come from, the Egyptian pantheon. Let's say
Yeah.
the tarot cards were a derivative from that. The flower of life is still older than that. So what I'm saying, and again, it's a longer explanation, is that the deck of playing cards, which we call the source cards, because it comes out of the flower of life, we know it's older and we know it has a different origin than the tarot cards. And to me, the tarot cards show the archetypal patterns of human experience. You can see all the different narrative building blocks of human
Yeah.
experience. What the source cards show are the building blocks of life itself. Metatron's cube, the Fibonacci golden spiral, the sacred geometric building blocks of life itself are what these source cards reveal. And it's these building blocks that then make up the narrative structure that is the story of our life. But before you can have any narrative structure of any archetypal patterns of human experience, you need the fundamental mathematical building blocks that build the story itself. So, from that vantage point as well, we know that these source cards must be prior and more foundational to tarot cards because of what they represent, which is the
Mm.
mathematical building blocks of reality itself. Whereas the tarot cards are the human archetypal stories of our human
Mm.
experience. But the building blocks of the foundation of our space time matrix is what these source cards reveal. So I
Mm.
could say a lot more, but that's a kind of a mini deep dive into what I see as the difference between the source cards and the tarot cards.
Oh, thank you for that explanation. You know, you mentioned something earlier as well about Thoth and how that also relates to the cards. I'd love for you to like address that a bit and how we can see this how these things connect.
That's a good question. Short answer is I don't know. I can speculate. Um, Thoth was known as a master magician.
Mhm.
That was one of the monikers for him. That was one of the ways that he was known. He's also known as the figure who gave writing and language to the ancient peoples. These source cards, through my own research, well, you can trace them all the way back to ancient Sumeria, where the Sumerians talk about tablets of destiny that were gifted to them by their gods.
Mm.
The Sumerian myths are the oldest known myths that we have, of the oldest known civilization that we know of in Mesopotamia. And these tablets of destiny in their mythology bear an uncanny resemblance to the source cards in the way that
Mm.
they're used and the way that they're described. At that time, there was no papyrus, paper hadn't been invented yet. And so it makes sense that they would be referred to as tablets, the same information inscribed onto tablets.
Yeah.
What's interesting further is that the Sumerians do not claim credit for inventing these tablets of destiny. They say that they were gifted to them by their gods. So I think that these tablets were gifted by an advanced race of extraterrestrial beings.
Yeah.
That's what I think. Which race of beings, I don't know per se, but I think that that's the connection with Thoth. That's where I'm going with this. Thoth may himself be a living, breathing being, similar to Yeshua or Jesus, like alive in a different dimension of space time. And he may also be a representation of an extraterrestrial being beings who gave this information, who delivered what would have been the Book of Thoth, or this was also known as the Book of Life in ancient
Yeah.
times, because books didn't have bindings in ancient times.
Yeah.
So this little deck would have been known as a book. So I don't know exactly how Thoth is directly related, but there's a lot of circumstantial interweaving of connections in the ancient literature. And my own theory is that through different cultures and societies, these cards had different names: Tablets of Destiny, Book of Thoth, Book of Life, source cards. When I first started, I was calling them the Book of Life, but it was too much of a leap for people. They couldn't connect that these cards were a book. So I asked, as I do, I channeled this information. I asked, what should we call these cards? And the answer I got is source cards. Call them the source cards. So that's what we did. But I believe these cards have been known by many other names in history. And I don't have proof of that, but that's my thinking on it.
I love that though. I love how, like, you go, you look, and you weave things together and you make sense of that, right? And just combine that with the work that you're doing and what you're able to channel on top of that too. I think that's, like, I always encourage people, go look, go search,
Mm-hmm.
go seek and see what you find and make sense of whatever it is that you come across, and take what take what resonates with you, right? So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I definitely love that you went on your own kind of like journey of, like, seeking that out. That's really, really intriguing. So this question, I mean, any of you can answer this, but I'd love to know more about how we can use this tool to begin to understand ourselves. I think you guys gave an amazing example when you gave me that nice impromptu reading, but I'd love for you to, like, to get deep into, like, what are some of the, like, the juicy things that we can begin to pull out of these cards about ourselves and our lives and our life paths.
So the first step is to, like, find out the cards, right? And just begin, like, even just one at a time, like really exploring them, taking in the energy of the card, accepting that these are the cards that one is playing, right? That, oh, these are the cards that I believe we've chosen based on being a soul, choosing our birthday to come in, choosing these cards to play.
Yeah.
So then, discovering, like, the birth card, as we did with you, the 8 of diamonds, to really take in both the high side and the low side of the card and really feel into it, and accepting, okay, this is an energy pattern that I am playing. Where am I playing it out? How am I playing it out? Am I playing this on the high side? Where do I play it on the low side? I remember when I first learned my cards, my personality card is the Queen of Spades. And, it talked about, like, all the high side things of, like, having this Zen presence and the Queen of Consciousness and all these, like, yummy, wonderful things, right? And then I get to passive aggressive manipulation. And I'm like, what? I'm like, no way. I'm like, that's not me. I don't do that. That's so wrong. So I sat with it, and and suddenly it occurred to me, like, I was really realizing that in past relationships, romantic relationships, I would definitely have, like, a Zen presence, like a facade. And I wouldn't really be expressing, like, if I were angry with somebody, like, or I don't like a certain situation or an experience, like, hey, that really bothered me, that hurt my feelings or whatever, for fear of confrontation, for fear that the person would leave me, right?
Yeah.
So then I realized that that's passive aggressive manipulation. Like, I'm being manipulative by saying, no, everything is good. We're good. It's great. I'm doing great. So it took some time for me to And I see this a lot, if somebody was like, well, that's not really me. Well, you know what? I mean, he had one client, like it was 3 years later, listen to a recording that Alexander had done in a session. They had done a session that was a recording, and he listened to it years later, and it was like, this is so accurate, and it took him that much time of growth and evolution and, self-reflection to realize that it was truth for him.
Yeah, I did a reading for him, and he got up and shook my hand and said thank you politely, but I could tell it didn't resonate for him.
Wow.
And then time went by, and life moves on, and then out of the blue one day, I got a text message from him saying, hey, I was cleaning out my phone, and I was deleting old stuff on my phone, making space, and I saw this random recording. I didn't know what it was, and I started listening to it, and every word cut me to the core. And I could even hear my own resistance and my own defensiveness that I didn't want to hear it. And now, like 3 years later, every word is resonating so strongly for me, and I just wanted to let you know. Thank you.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
it can take time
Yeah.
to receive it.
It's really taking it in, really sitting with it. This is a journey. This is, it's not a novelty, like where some people will just want a reading. I'm like, wow, it's so accurate. That's so cool. On to the next, but that's not what we're teaching or how we use it. We're using this on a daily basis, looking at it on a daily basis. Another great example.
It's a personal growth tool.
Yes.
And we have a daily game and daily game community where we're playing along every single day in the cards of the day. Every day is a card. Like today, when we're doing this recording, is a King of Hearts day. Somebody born today, that's their birth card. The rest of us are passing through that energy frequency just for today. So then how are you playing this King of Hearts energy today? And that's something that you can focus on as a personal growth tool.
And, today being a heart, yesterday was not a heart card, and it could be very different. The person's experience from yesterday to today, and they could be like, wow, I'm so emotional today. Why am I've been crying all morning, or whatever it is. It's like, why? What's wrong with me? Well, it's because the King of Hearts is in play and the energies have shifted. So there's utilizing the energies by having the awareness of knowing what the energies are.
Oh, so like each day also has its own energy. How do you pull for the day?
Well, you don't. Again, it's math. It's a mathematical algorithm that predictively shows the sequence. So again, you could try to do fortune telling because you already know the sequence.
Yeah.
But the problem with fortune telling is that you're trying to predict something that doesn't exist. And it takes you out of the present. The future does not exist. So if you're fortune telling, you're looking at something that doesn't exist and trying to predict it.
Yeah,
That's
like
the
a
reverse.
probability.
Yeah, that's the reverse of spiritual growth. That's the opposite of spiritual growth, because spiritual growth is being more present, more awake and more aware in this present moment. So we don't shuffle and pull a card. We're using the mathematical algorithm, which anyone can learn. You can go on our website and see it. You can see what the cards are. What we're teaching is using this tool as a tool of spiritual awakening, as a tool of enlightenment, so that you are enlightened. Because enlightenment is only the beginning. Enlightenment is the beginning of living. Once you're awake and aware and you know who you are, now you know you're here to play the Eight of Diamonds with a King of Spades personality. That's just the beginning. That enlightened, illuminated realization of, oh, I'm here to weave everything together and be a powerful leader of consciousness. That's just the beginning. Now you have your whole life to play that out.
Just
how you're
to
going to
embody
do that.
it. Yeah. To embody.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And thank you guys for playing that for me.
Yeah.
So amazing. I love that.
I have another great example about like how to play the cards. As I said, there's 13 plus cards in somebody's life path. So for example, we have what's called a Saturn card. There is some, connection with astrology. And the Saturn card shows our challenges and life lessons. It also shows how to get healthy. So for example, it's like, people are, was talking about, oh, you got to do this to be healthy, right? Like eat right and do all these things to be healthy, like a one size fits all. But if you look at your cards to play, I'm going to say my Saturn card is about communication and conversation. I have got to get the thoughts out of my head, and that will help me be healthy in my body. Alexander's Saturn card is about letting go of physical things that don't serve him. So like food, drink, working out at the gym, like letting go of the things that don't serve him, doing more of the things that serve him on a physical level, right? Diamonds, right? Yours is about being in the spotlight of consciousness. So for you to be healthy in your body is to really be in the spotlight of consciousness and to radiate in the world in a big way, bringing forth your consciousness. That will help you to be healthy in your physical body. That's also, what do you want to say?
Go ahead. Well, you need boundaries. That's the thing. That's to do that well, what Viki's saying. So your key to health is boundaries. You overwork yourself and you make yourself sick as a workaholic. And the FOMO and the fear of missing out is what makes you sick. So your way to be healthy is you need clear boundaries. But what Viki's saying is that then empowers you actually to be more in the spotlight. But for you, it's not so much about food or drink that makes you sick. It's your own overworking yourself.
Filling yourself up, not having the space within yourself, the empty space of stillness in yourself, right? Which would be creating boundaries, like not saying yes to everything and not overextending yourself, to have that space inside of you.
Yeah, I've had that problem. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's hugely accurate. People, check it out. Check it out. I believe them. It's working. No, that's very accurate. I love that. The thing about it, about spirituality and these things, is that there are just so many things, and there's so many ways that you can combine these things in order to understand yourself, to understand your life, to understand your life path. And it's so beautiful. This is such beautiful work. One thing I'm really intrigued about is like how you also bring your own intuitive gifts into your work with the cards, because Alexander, you mentioned like how you channeled and got the information that the best name for this is the source cards. Viki, you spoke about yourself about being an intuitive. I know like we're bent for time, but I'd love for you to just like get into quickly how you both are able to tap into your innate spiritual, energetic, amazing gifts, and also bring that into the work that you're doing with the cards.
So I mean, two ways. It's really important for me to be playful in my cards that I'm playing, to have a lot of fun and be playful and silly and laugh a lot, helps me to sort of get out of my own way and get out of my head, and to not think too much. Cause, like the 5, I'm playing my birth card is the 5 of diamonds. 5 is about being out of the box, bringing a fresh new perspective. And then the Queen of Spades, also getting out of my own way. I love to meditate, and I do love to connect with the cards through meditation, especially the symbols and how they feel for me. And then connecting with clients energetically I will look at their energy fields and then connect them and correlate them with their life path. So I'll see like, what do I see in their energy field connected to the cards? Usually I look at the energy field first because I want to see what's going on first there, and then I confirm it with the cards, that kind of thing. Or I try to do that. So I'll correlate and I'll correlate in that way. I'd love to actually speak for you for a moment, in that he has channeled so much phenomenal information on this system. He has taken it to the next level. No one has done what Alexander has done. It's quite profound what he has channeled. It's profound. I'm just like, I'm in awe of you. And like for example, like you've got your personality of the King of Spades. This is the pip pattern, and this is through Alexander's channeling that he found this, that he discovered this. This is the pip pattern underneath the king. Here's the patterning of the pips, and it's the phi symbol. You can see the phi symbol right here. There's the circle and then the line that goes down the center. So
Yes.
there's the symbol inside. And the king is about finding the middle way between these two different, visions, finding the middle way, right? This is all Alexander's, doing. This is one of the ways he's intuitive in channeling. So
that's beautiful. Alexander, would you like to add to that?
At this time, no. We'll leave it there for now. We do need to wrap up for today.
I know.
This is such a pleasure.
This has been such a fun conversation. Thank you both so much. Thank you both so much. And like when you're holding up the cards, one thing I'll say is like, I love, Viki, the way that you were just like showing me the patterns, because once you see it, you can't unsee it. And I pretty much like when you're showing it and drawing it from, just like, yeah, I can really see that. I see how it is. I see how it works, and it makes complete sense. And thank you so much. Like, you guys have been both so kind. So I'd love for you to end with, like your website, where we can find you, where we can also like check out any of the other things that you're working on.
So the website is thesourcecards.com. On the homepage, you can enter your date of birth and find out your first 2 cards to play in your life path of cards. And you can do that for everybody in your life. So you can start there by like looking up everybody's cards. And then from there, I do recommend getting the book, which is also on the website, Play Your Cards Right, A Sacred Guide to Life on Earth. Alexander wrote it. And it gives a wonderful overview of the cards and the life path of each card. So you can find out your whole life path of cards in the book.
Beautiful. Thank you.